Alright, what's going on YouTube family? I know it's been a long time since I did anything regarding my reef aquarium. This is a new build actually, and just kind of wanted to show you my sump area, and I'll go over the details, but I kind of want to make a quick review of, this is the Triton 44 sump. Let me get some of this salt creep out. This tank has been set up for over a month, so probably going on 2.5 months, and I transitioned everything over, but this sump has actually been really good. This is of course where the water flows directly from the overflow into the sump. This sump does support the bean animal, which does have 3 outputs. Of course you have your 2 standard and then 1 emergency overflow, which is highlighted by this white piece to let me and any other user know that this is for emergency. My initial concern with this sump is that, as you guys can see here, there's not a section for filter socks whatsoever. You can't put them because this is supposed to be used with the Triton method of reef keeping. I would suggest you Google it if you're not familiar with it. But in a nutshell, it's there's other methods, of course, but in a nutshell, you use algae to do the majority of your filtration, and you do not, for the most part, have to do regular scheduled water changes. I am not using the Triton method. I'm using ATI Essentials, and I've been very pleased with it so far. But back to the sump. So from here you have where the water enters into the sump, into a very controlled section. There's lots of current in this particular area, and you can easily tell because detritus doesn't settle here. What I thought was kind of neat, and it actually kind of addressed the filter sock problem, is that water kind of flows here at a much higher pace, but tapers off very quickly, and detritus tends to settle here, which you can kind of see, which in your sump area is pretty good actually, or excuse me, your refugium area is actually pretty good, because this is where your micro or macroalgae is going to grow, and all the little pods and that stuff that they would feed on, which is awesome. And then here you have your skimmer section, which I think is very cool. Now, one thing I will note, there's been lots of concerns with the skimmer section being really small, and I would agree, it is small, but the whole point of this type of sump is that all of your filtration happens really here, not so much here. I will say that I'm using a Nios 160 skimmer. I've used a Nios line on the previous setup that I had before with great success. Same difference with this one. This guy's super quiet. And it does a really good job. I have kind of rigged up a little deal, but this is just skim mate that I've collected so far. Again, it does a pretty good job. And then here, this section, of course, is your return section. I have the Ecotech MP. Yeah, it's the, no, I'm sorry, not the MP. The M1. You didn't say the MP1. The M1. Now, one thing that I like about this sump is that it's well organized. I mean, there are probe holders back here, which I have a pH probe there. Very nice, I don't know, not tie downs if you will, but it allows you to organize your sump in a way where it doesn't really look too messy. And then the back is blacked out, so all the cabling and wiring you can't see anyway, which is really cool. But in this section, of course, that's my auto top off. But you can see here it has, and this is built right into it, guys, for all your dosing and top off. Now, of course, because if you are using Triton method, then you're going to use all 4 of those. I'm using ATI Essentials, which only requires 3, and that 4th one I use for my top off pump. Now, what's really cool and what I like about how this sump is designed is that everything has a purpose and is designed for a specific purpose. So under normal circumstances, you never would want to dose in a sump just because of the amount of flow. But outside of the refugium section here, there's a nice little lid to to minimize evaporation. And as you can see here, salt creep isn't really much of an issue at all. And this is, you know, it's fastened down in there. It's just a very clean overall design. But back to this section, water is moving pretty fast here. And because of that reason, you can actually dose here and it's not a problem, because you're dosing, of course, in the last area before water goes into your display, but it's moving at a pace where you don't have to worry about it not dissolving properly, or that there's not enough current in the water. Of course, if you're dosing any fluids, you want to dose it in an area that has lots and lots of flow, and this sump certainly does satisfy. Now, I will say that it's pretty long. It's 44 inches, 16 inches wide, and I believe 15 inches tall. And it's rated up to aquariums of 200 gallons. My current aquarium is 150. I do have a top off a container here, and then let me just close this stand. It's really tight down here, but I want to show you guys the last section, which is where my ATI Essentials are. These are 5-liter containers. If you don't know anything about ATI Essentials, basically it's a competitor to Triton. I tend to like it just because the availability is there. I haven't went to many retailers that carry this stuff that they're out of stock on it. They're never out of stock, excuse me, is what I was meaning to say. It is a diluted substance, meaning that you are going to be dosing more. This tank is a fairly new setup. I don't have many SPS in here, but I am dosing close to 32 mils per container per day. And with the heavily stocked system, you know, I've read online people dosing, you know, 300 or 400 mils per day. Now, the good news is that the price is relatively, it's pretty affordable. You buy a 1-liter container. That 1 liter of ATI Essentials make 10 liters of fluid. So this 5 liters, of course, is just half of my stock that I have available. But so far it's pretty good. The requirements are simple. You dose everything in equal amounts for the most part. And let me get up here. And you make sure that your out stays between 7 and 8. And for the most part, this is my tank. So, again, relatively happy with the ATI Essentials. And, you know, if you have any questions, leave your comments. Also, just FYI, I know that there's some bleaching going on here. That is... These, unfortunately, when I transitioned a bunch of these corals over from my old aquarium to the new one, they were kind of dying anyway, which is one of the reasons why I kind of moved to a bigger tank. I was afraid to shut that one down. The only one that's been doing fairly well, this one, of course, came from the old tank. The stylo did. It's actually coming back. It bleached, and now it's coming back. This one, of course, has been the Soldier. I've had this thing since it was a little small frag. That is new. This, of course, came from the old tank. I don't know if this guy is going to survive. This one, of course, came from the old tank as well, and that's doing pretty good. And then this is new. This is my bubble tip anemone. He decided to... this is the Colorado, but he decided to make a home there. And yeah, this has been my tank. Thanks for watching, guys.